Literally hundreds of you took us up on our invitation to participate in this weekly tradition. We do this every Friday, courtesy of our friends at the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park. These are the absolute hottest takes, real emails, YouTube comments from real talkers who are all fired up. It's the Flamethrower, presented by the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park. This one from Tavis, who says, Jespo, I'm a big supporter of everything you do, and I'm sorry that I only ever write into the show when I'm totally pissed off. On a recent podcast, you said that you don't think that the government of Alberta is actually out to hurt kids. And he says, I think that's absolute bullshit. Even if they are only out to hurt teachers, they still hurt kids as collateral damage. They didn't bargain in good faith, and forcing the teachers back solves nothing. All you have is 50,000 disgruntled teachers going back and no solution to classroom size or complexity. They may be out to hurt teachers or push people to private schools to help their donors, but in the end, they're hurting the kids. That from Travis. What about this one from Tobias, who says, the teachers need to suck it up. We all have aspects of our job that we don't like, but the majority of us don't go on strike because we can't get our own way. Tobias says, I've been part of a union in my life, and we never went on strike. I'm glad teachers were forced back to work. It's not like the teachers do any actual teaching unless it's teaching boys to be girls or vice versa and trying to hide it from the parents. Thanks, Tobias. What about this one from Perry, who says, just for our first day back in class, a teacher in our school, Perry's a teacher got beaten up by a student. I teach in a junior high school in Northwest Calgary. There's no available seat in a program that would meet this student's needs. The student needs to be in a program with intensive supervision. But despite the need for such a program, nothing exists. So he's placed in a program in our school for students with learning and behavioral challenges, but who are not supposed to be violent. The teacher was attacked and has a bruised face, a busted lip, multiple clumps of hair pulled out of her head. This is awful. Another teacher who's also small in stature placed himself in harm's way to stare down the student and protect the other teacher from future or further harm. That teacher has a reputation of being a miracle worker. Now it does not appear she will return, and the student is now with a substitute. Our principal just emailed to say he's starting medical leave. My good friend, another principal, said he's starting medical leave. Losing our rights like this in combination with not standing up for any of them by filing a charter challenge and defying Bill 2 has deeply affected all Alberta teachers. That from Perry. What about this one from KP, who says, Ryan, I have some serious issues with your hyper-progressive coverage of the teacher strike. Let's get a few things straight, says KP. This strike and the subsequent back-to-work law is 90% on the ATA. The Teachers Association asked for more teachers, more EAs, more money, and class caps. The province met their demands, 3,000 new teachers, 1,500 new EAs, a 12 to 17% raise, making them the highest paid teachers in the country, 130 new schools to be built or renovated, plus more to be planned, and the fact that class caps are not shown to be effective for the general student above grade 3. All of what this guy's saying is complete horseshit, by the way. A task force to look at complexity, but the teachers rejected it, increased their initial demands, and broke off negotiations for more than a year. They tried to use public opinion leverage against the government and did it to their last day, and they still are. But like all things, don't threaten to use a hammer when your opponent has a fucking cannon. That from KP, who's very upset with my position on the teacher strike. I wonder if I'll be able to sleep tonight. JP says, Ryan, we live in Alberta, but our kid chose U of S in Saskatoon to take his education degree. His plans were initially to return to our city to teach, but now, not a chance. He's going to head to Europe to study abroad for a semester and maybe stay there. Or if he decides to come back to Alberta, he's already told us he plans to teach at a private school. He's not even considering public school anymore, and we don't blame him. His classes are mostly full of Saskatchewan-based students, and the discussion continuously is about Alberta being an example of places where you don't want to go teach, and I'm not too sure where they're going to drum up the 3,000 new teachers. We are the laughingstock out of all the provincial programs. That from JP. What about this one from Tavis, who says, Premier Smith, enough. First you strip our charter rights, then you throw in a side of slander on the same day. Stop defaming the professionalism of Alberta's public school teachers, the people who have dedicated their lives to caring for this province's children. What about this one from Shawn, who writes in from Ontario? Says, I've been teaching Jespo in Northern Ontario for 21 years, and I've been following the situation in Alberta through your show. Thanks, Shawn. Says, for context, I earn $113,000 a year. I'm not in the highest salary bracket. My current high school class sizes are grade 9 geography, 24 students, grade 10 English, 25 students, and grade 10 locally developed English, which is a high support class, 16 students. Shawn says, I've never taught a class larger than 31, and I can't imagine doing so with any level of success. This year, our connected elementary school had grades 6, 7, and 8 with more than 30 students. The board was forced to hire another teacher to bring them down to the contracted class size cap. That's the power of having class size limits in the collective agreement. They're enforceable. We certainly have challenges in Ontario, but nothing like what I'm hearing about in Alberta. That from Shawn. What about this one from Justin, who says, you want to know how I know that Danielle Smith is a communist? You got our attention, Justin. He says, under her rule, Alberta will make just one thing, oil. She will force you to work, even if you only make as much as the kid at McDonald's. 3, she will, no matter how hard you work in school or in your job, you'll make as much as the people who coasted through got any old job. 4, she'll lower taxes for the wealthy global elites, but never for average people. 5, to make money, you must be in her good graces. 6, she tells people who work that they're greedy and that they'll hurt her globally elite friends if they ask for a raise. 7, she would rather see the biggest businesses made of all of our jobs because forcing private sector to compete with each other would hurt their bottom line. 8, she likes it when the central bank prints money. She loves it when there's high unemployment. 9, small businesses can get crushed by inflation and taxes for all she cares. And 10, she cares nothing about your rights and will strip them of any chance she gets. Justin says, under Danielle Smith, we have a communist wearing a capitalist mask. What about this one from Brandon, who says, when listening to the education minister rattle on about all this, this is about getting kids back in school, and this is all about helping the kids. In my mind, I always add, except trans kids. That from Brandon. Rob says, hey, Minister Nicolaitis, thanks for appearing on Real Talk to Jespo, but if you had shown half the level of interest that you did now, a month ago, or a year ago, this strike wouldn't have happened. You just told Jespo on Wednesday how you've been doing a lot of reading lately and just spoke with Saskatchewan's Minister of Education to see how they deal with class sizes and complexity. This shows a lack of respect for students, parents, and teachers that are part of public education. You should have been doing this 18 months ago, or at least a month ago. Had you done that and come to the conclusion that class size and complexity mattered, the strike would have been avoided. This is unacceptable. That from Rob. What about this from Amy, who was listening to our Friday Roundtable with Erica Barudis and Cheryl Oates just a week ago? She says, you know, Ryan, one positive aspect of the teacher strike is it's allowed me to regularly listen to your podcast and actually feel supported by the Real Talk community. Thank you so much for everything you guys are doing with thought-provoking, meaningful conversations on the daily. She says, I have to say, listening to Erica Barudis on Friday the 24th of October compare her experience in adult education with the current challenges and expectations in our K-12 system really pissed me off. Amy says, with respect, such comparisons reveal a deep misunderstanding of the realities teachers face today. People assume they understand education because they once attended school or have kids in the system. Teaching today bears little resemblance to what most people remember. That from Amy. What about this from GreeceBall? Great handle on Alberta separation. Says Jespo, highlighting the rally at the legislature. A few hundred losers isn't momentum nor a movement. This is the same crew that camped in a highway ditch all summer. This is the fringe of the lunatic fringe. That from GreeceBall. And Robert has a challenge for me. Says, Jesper, I think that the two of us, you and I, have very similar backgrounds, and I have friends and family who are not that different, so I understand the blind spot that we like to pretend doesn't exist. Robert wrote in after I was talking about Jeff Raff, the Alberta separatist, the lawyer that's kind of spearheading the whole thing, and I made a comment about how in real life, Jeff is actually kind of jovial and funny and candid and casual and conversational, and then he kind of plays a character on TV. And Robert says, years ago when I traveled to the southern U.S., and I was amazed by all the Confederate flags and hate symbols everywhere, but people were like super welcoming and gentle, and I mentioned that to a friend of mine who happens to be black, and he said, well, yeah, they were nice to you because you're white. And Robert says it kind of hit me like a brick, and all the time I was asking myself, oh my God, what have I been missing? Have I had this blind spot? And then I realized that I obviously do. And Robert says, I'm sure that Jeff Rath may seem to you to be charming and clownish and harmless, but maybe, Ryan, that's because you're white. Like, do you think that the little Filipina lady serving him coffee when he rants finds him so endearing? Or do you think that his brood of chuds could be seen as threatening to those who are not so privileged to be covered by the shield of your whiteness? He says, I'm told that John Wayne Gacy was a real clown and Ted Bundy was a total lady killer. So let's not let how pleasant somebody appears to be allow us to be mistaken for anything substantive. Robert says, I don't want discord in my circle here, but we do wear poppies every November 11th to remember we share a humanity, and we discard that when we're scared of breaking bubbles of misinformation and accept scapegoating of minorities. Then we're lost, he says. I would rather honor those who sacrifice and stand for truth and dignity than worry about my cousin who thinks that chemtrails will make you trans. That from Robert, who fired up his flamethrower to talk@ryanjesperson.com. You can do the same thing. Emails wide open 24/7, and we do our best to read every single one of them because we appreciate you. When you visit a DQ at Palisades, Namao, Newcastle, Westmount, or Baseline Road this weekend to pick up a flamethrower signature stack burger and a score blizzard, you make sure you let them know that Real Talk sent you. We'll be back at it Monday with Supriya Dwivedi, and as mentioned, further conversation on carbon capture and storage. Go Jays, go. Jays in 6. Happy Halloween. Drive it low and slow through those neighborhoods. Lots of littles wearing costumes. Their eyes are shrouded. Let's keep it on the rails, everybody. We love you. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.